Welcome to our comprehensive module on national parks. I'm your lead teacher, and together with our assistant, we're going to make sure you're fully prepared for any environment and ecology question the UPSC might throw at you during the prelims. As you can see here, this topic is absolutely vital. We often see 2 to 3 questions in the prelims focusing on things like which river flows through a park, specific endangered species, or identifying the correct state. It's a high yield area that rewards consistent mapping practice. Now, let's look at the legal definition. National parks are areas notified by state governments for environmental or ecological protection. Crucially, this is done under the Wildlife Protection Act, or WPA, of 1972. Make sure you remember that year in the act. Think of a national park as a fortress for nature. The primary goal is to keep the ecosystem as untouched as possible, preserving the habitat for the species within. A key distinction you must understand for the exam is the degree of protection. In a national park, human activity like grazing or timber collection is almost entirely prohibited unless specifically permitted by the chief wildlife warden. This is significantly stricter than what you'd find in a wildlife sanctuary. Building on that high level of protection we just discussed, let's look at the actual legal framework that brings these parks into existence and some key statistics you'll need for your prelims. The how is governed by Section 35 of the Wildlife Protection Act, 1972. Under this section, both the state and central governments have the power to declare an area as a national park if they believe the ecology or wildlife justifies it. Remember, once declared, boundaries cannot be altered except via a resolution passed by the state legislature. Now, looking at the numbers, India currently has 106 national parks. Together, they cover roughly 1.35% of our entire land area. While it sounds small, these are the most critical core zones for conservation in the country. For a bit of history, which UPSC loves and match the following questions, our journey started in 1936 with Haley National Park in Uttarakhand. You know it today as Jim Corbett National Park. It was India's first, and it set the precedent for everything that followed. In terms of distribution, Madhya Pradesh leads the way with 11 parks, followed closely by the Andaman and Nicobar Islands with 9. This high concentration in MP is why it's often called the Tiger State. Keep these numbers in mind as we start our mapping exercises in the next few segments. Building on the statistics we just covered, let's dive into the mapping of North India. These parks are characterized by high altitude, fragile Himalayan ecosystems, which are a favorite topic for UPSC prelims. Starting at the top, we have Hemis National Park in Ladakh. It is officially the largest national park in India. As you can see in the image, it's the global capital for the elusive snow leopard. For your exam, remember that high altitude and Hemis go hand in hand. Next is Dachigam in Jammu and Kashmir. This is crucial. It is the last viable habitat for the Hungal or Kashmiri stag. If you see a question matching species to habitats, Hungal should immediately point you to Dachigam. Moving into Uttarakhand, we find the UNESCO World Heritage Cluster of Valley of Flowers and Nanda Devi. These are not just parks, but major biodiversity reserves. The Valley of Flowers is particularly famous for its endemic alpine flora and stunning meadows. Finally, Jim Corbett National Park. Established in 1936, it holds the distinction of being India's first National Park. Take note of the Ramganga River. UPSC often asks about the specific rivers flowing through these protected areas to test your geographical depth. Now, let's get ready for a quick checkpoint to see what you've memorized. Building on our discussion of flagship species, we move into the Northeast, a region often described as a hotbed of biodiversity. For your UPSC preparation, these parks are high yield topics because they host very specific endemic species in unique ecological niches. Let's start with Kaziranga in Assam. It's iconic for housing 2/3 of the global population of great one-horned rhinos. When you study this, remember its geographical context. The Brahmaputra River borders it, providing the alluvial grasslands that these rhinos depend on. Next is Cable Lamjau in Manipur, which is a favorite for prelims examiners. It is the only floating national park in the world. The funduses mentioned here are thick mats of floating organic matter. This is the only natural habitat for the sangai, or the dancing deer, which has adapted to walk on this unstable ground. Notice the dense canopy and moisture represented in these visuals. This brings us to Namdapha in Arunachal Pradesh. Namdapha is extraordinary because of its altitudinal variation. It's the only park in India where you can find 4 big cat species: the tiger, leopard, snow leopard, and the clouded leopard, all in one protected area. Also, keep Nokrek in Meghalaya in mind for its vital citrus gene pool protecting the wild ancestors of the fruits we eat today.